Okay.
You get 3 rolls on this lovely dice tower here.
All right.
Each number corresponds to a random question, and that's where we start.
Okay, let's hope I get some luck here. Ooh, 1 right off
You've
the bat.
got my favorite question off the bat. This question is called Scream, and if it's called Scream, it can only be one question that I'm asking. What's your favorite scary movie?
Oh, most likely both versions of Funny People. Funny Games? Sorry, Funny Games. Funny Games, yeah.
Funny People was just on the other day,
Right,
and I was
right.
just
Sorry,
watching it.
Yeah, different one. No, Funny Games, I think.
Funny Games is a good choice.
Just, it's like the ultimate fear that somebody just enjoys torturing you on top of just breaking into your house.
You came to play with that answer, so you like the genre.
No.
Oh my God.
On a whole, it's not my favorite. On a whole,
Okay.
it's not my favorite. There's some incredible work in that space. Obviously, Guillermo del Toro is pretty badass. But yeah, it's just not my go-to.
I get it.
There are all sorts, but
Very much my go-to, but I also understand and respect when it is not the case for someone else.
it seems like I would be too, because Hocus Pocus, Walking Dead. It's a
Hocus
theme in
Pocus.
my career for sure. But yeah.
Hocus Pocus is the entryway for so many kids.
I don't know if that's not the spooky movie is not the first thing that comes to mind when describing that film, but I mean I do love Halloween. Let's just make that perfectly clear. Okay. Yeah.
What is your absolute favorite Halloween tradition?
The people watching. In LA we have some great street parades, and so that's figuring out an outfit and people watching. That's my favorite.
What did you dress up as this year?
So I did not actually go out, but I did
Okay.
get all dressed up and ready to go out, and I was Velma Had a Bad Night. It's basically Velma with a lot of blood.
Oh, I love that. I love that. That's amazing. All right, you're gonna get another roll in the tower. So
All right, here
second
we
one
go.
up.
Number 2.
Velma had a bad night.
1 again. Oh no, we can't do that.
You're
All right.
meant to love horror.
Right. Answer that again. 2.
All right, 2. This actually comes from something I heard you say in another interview. I'm calling this one repeat watch because you mentioned that when you were a kid, you had the habit of, finding a movie, really latching on and watching it over and over. So I'm going to hit that from 2 angles. When you were a kid, what movie would you watch over and over again? And also now as an adult, do you still have that same feeling? And if so, with what movie?
Okay, good. So I think the first one where I started to realize that I was just watching the same movie and over was Indiana Jones Raiders of the Lost Ark. And that was just like, how could you not, right? And that was the age where whatever you'd be watching, you're just going to watch it 5,000 times. And then later in life, I think one of the last times I had a relationship with that where if it's just on, I'm just going to watch it no matter what, maybe Casino. But now there's just so much content and so many other distractions that I don't know if I have that that tendency to do as many repeat viewings. But the most a film will get now from me is probably about maybe 3 to 4 over a 5-year period or something like that.
Okay.
But you have to be really freaking good.
Yeah, right. Top tier
you have
kind
to
of
be
stuff.
like a PTA or something like that.
I get that. I get
Yeah.
that. Growing up, I had on that list, it was Hocus Pocus and Now and Then. I watched quite a few times.
Thank you.
And as an adult, I feel like Jurassic Park and Scream have remained the most frequent rewatches. Although
hear
this
you.
year I've seen Weapons like 5 or 6 times at this point. I need to maybe take a breath.
Yeah, I did see Caught Stealing twice, which was half accident but half intentional. Hey. Yeah.
How was it an accident?
I forgot. I couldn't tell you.
All right, I'll take that. You got one more roll in the tower, and
All
then
right,
we'll move
let's
into
do
the
it.
meat of the interview.
Let's do it. Come on, give me a good number.
Okay. I don't know what a good number is on this list.
7. That's the one I was looking for.
Well, this is just a fun, silly one. This
Okay.
one's our game show question. If you could be on the game show of your choice, what show would you pick, and could you actually win it?
Oh gosh. Wow, you're asking the wrong girl. Game shows. I don't know. Okay, give me multiple choice here.
My personal answer for something like this is Wheel of Fortune, because I love word games and things like
All right,
that. You know,
yeah.
people have said Jeopardy, American Ninja Warrior, Survivor. People have named a bunch of reality TV shows also.
Oh yeah, The Circle could be interesting. I mean, I don't know if that totally classifies.
No, that counts.
As a game show, but yeah, that could be interesting. But I would lose, I think. So I'd have to go with maybe Wheel of Fortune.
Okay.
Because I feel like anything word related, I could piece it together.
I just played some very competitive Scrabble over the weekend, so I'm feeling really confident
there you
in
go.
that answer.
If that was a TV show, get me on there.
Wait, do you want one of our meaty acting questions? I feel like you
Just
got a bunch
give me a-
you got
give
a
me
bunch
a-
of the silly
A
stuff.
sneaky fourth here.
All right. So this is another one of my favorite questions that gets put on this list. It's called favorite, least favorite. I want to know your single favorite part of the acting process. Things like putting your costume on for the first time, meeting your co-stars, but then also not necessarily your least favorite, but just something where you see room to grow for yourself and you're eager to tackle that one day.
Yeah, that's a great question and very well put. I think my favorite part is that moment when you kind of know, even the self-doubting voice in your head isn't even there. You kind of know you nailed the take, and it was like hopefully you're close up. So that moment's pretty great. There are so many other, just the performing of it, being in a moment, having another great moment with an actor. Like when I was working with Imogen, I had not really met her hardly at all beforehand. And, when Kristen said action, we just sort of looked at one another and all of a sudden, boom, we were right there and locked in as sisters and felt this incredible bond just like form. And that electricity that can come about while performing is definitely the highlight of it. But my least favorite aspect is, as we're sitting here, perhaps promotion.
I've heard it before. It's okay.
It's not my least favorite. It's more getting the stumper questions.
Oh.
Like, what's your favorite game show?
Okay. So we've ticked that box. We don't have to come back to that again.
I'm totally messing with you.
It's
just more the stress. It's a different sort of. It's work, but it's not my job.
Yeah.
It's a part of the job that's not in the description, and yet it's a lot of it.
I'm also fascinated by the challenge of, and anyone who can successfully explain their art. What you do as an actor seems like such an impossible thing to me. So when I sit here and I'm like, tell me how you do this thing you gave a significant amount of your life to. Anyone who is able to sit here and actually articulate that.
Have you ever gotten a really good answer to that?
I've gotten a lot of really good answers. Varied answers too. I feel like, I don't know, a lot of people have a variety of different ways to explain what their approach to their work is, especially because there's a million approaches to the work in
There's
your
a lot of
field.
different approaches, and I think it's hard for a lot of people to describe because in doing so, you can't help but sound bad one way or the other.
It's also because I feel like sometimes when you're explaining it, you feel the pressure to get boxed into a technique.
Yeah.
And it's what is any technique okay? Does it have to be a formal technique?
Right. And then
there's a
God
panic.
forbid you should use a word like method, because now it's a whole conversation.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back for a new edition of Collider Ladies Night. I'm very excited to welcome Thora Birch to the studio for the Chronology of Water.
Thank you for having me. Good to be here.
I'll repeat what I said to you before we started to roll. I have never seen a movie quite like this. That is my favorite reaction to have to a movie. So big thanks to you and the team for dishing out fresh material and just keeping me stimulated as a story lover.
Thank you so much. I take it as a high compliment.
This is always where we begin. I'm curious to hear your answer, given the fact that you started in this industry so young, because usually these answers come day one before someone jumps in. So I'm eager to hear if that's your situation or if it's something that clicked later on. What is the movie you saw, the performance you saw, or personal experience you had that made you know to your core, this is the profession for me. I have to have a career as an actor.
Yeah, that was more of a never-ending evolution for me, even perhaps to this day. Starting out so young, as you spoke, at 4, I did not have a concept of I am an actress, although people tell me I did go around talking that way. So maybe I knew and I didn't know I knew. But I would say when I was 9, filming Paradise with Don Johnson and Melanie Griffith, that was my first big drama, and it was the first time I was playing a role instead of showing up and just being Thora. So it was the first essence I got of, oh no, this is a character. This is a job. It's work. It's not just showing up on set and having a great time. But developing that understanding of really creating an emotionally immersing yourself into somebody else's daily reality, that thinking. that was a trip for me. And the little emotional Machiavelli in me really sparked to it. And then, I think there were times in my career where I didn't know, if it was something I needed to keep doing. And I took a little break at one point, and all those experiences and everything I learned during that time kind of brought me right back to storytelling and just being, a part of the storytelling process, which for me is like still the biggest joy.
I think I'm going to circle.
And the people you get to work with.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm going to circle back to both of those points. But before I get to the break and also the multitude of exceptional people you've worked with over the course of your career, I want to talk a little bit about your parents, because I watch every interview that I can find to prepare for these. And I heard in another one you did that you mentioned that they did a really good job of shielding you from like maybe the not so great aspects of this business. So can you walk me through how they were able to do that for you, how they were able to like keep you safe and support you pursuing what you loved, but then also pinpoint maybe the first moment that I guess the curtain was peeled back a little and you got a sense of what you were in for in terms of acting also being part of a business?
They did a good job in the sense that, when I wasn't working, my day-to-day childhood was quite hyper normal, at the public schools, just the regular day-to-day and kind of, not conservative, but a very protective environment. They were great at not isolating me, but making sure that I had that ability to create that childlike dream world for myself. But then, when I got to working so often, sort of getting in and out of those school situations, made it difficult to develop friendships outside of the industry that were like lasting or like a core group of friends. So a lot of my social life was the sets that I would be on, which was fine by me. But it did, I think it later on I realized that it sort of, I don't want to use the word stunted, but it prohibited me from sort of keeping pace with the sort of the social development with other kids my age. I found that I related to adults a lot more, but that's not so unusual anyway. But I do think that helped. And, my parents coming from their background, they knew certain things to be on the lookout for. A lot of child actor parents, they kind of come from other places in the country, and there's just a lot of naivete about the industry itself. And the industry has changed quite a lot, and just a lot of the dangers that were there aren't there in the same way now, which is good.
Absolutely. So now the back half of that, what is the first time that you, I guess, again, saw the curtain peeled back and maybe had to kind of like stop and say to yourself, if I'm going to continue to forge forward, I'm going to have to deal with these things myself?
Yeah, I think what helped me go through that was, again, I have to give my parents a little bit of credit. They let me make the largest decisions about the types of roles that I would want to play and would feel comfortable playing. And I think, when around the time the script for American Beauty came around, there was a lot of excitement about, the role of Angela. And that was like the splashy would-be breakout role. And for me personally, I just really didn't relate, or I didn't respond to it. I felt that there was so much more to explore in Jane. And so them being supportive of me making that decision, what I felt was right for me, I think it helped me make that transition a little easier. And at the same time, it opened up my eyes to that, yes, you can make these decisions, but, the best thing to do is maybe push yourself a little bit, And I always wanted to explore different genres and play around. And it was at a time where, and still this can happen today, where, you get one role that everyone says you're really good at, and then the other ones that you get approached for are pretty much just the same. And so to try and fight that can prove challenging.
Ooh, breaking out of the boxes that this industry puts you in. It's a fascinating,
without
frustrating.
taking too much of a complaining stance on it. It's natural. Now having director to film and playing around more on the other side of things, I see how I make the same mistakes when considering people for, possible roles or jobs,
Oh, I'm definitely going to come back to your directorial debut. But first, we touched on your parents' support. Now I also want to know about early on in your career, learning from veteran actors or number ones on the call sheet. I'm sure you have a bajillion answers to this, but can you maybe give me a few examples of veteran actors you encountered that made an especially big impression on you and maybe have influenced the leader on sets you are today?
Thank you. Well, yeah, I'd have to say, I was incredibly lucky to work with Harrison Ford at a very young age, 9, and then the next year at 10 with Bette Midler. And that, again, coming off of that role, Paradise, that I previously mentioned, that new realization that this was a job and was work made me watch the other actors that I was working with much more intently, instead of just being so happy to be there. And like a big fan, I really wanted to well, how do these guys operate, And what struck me was the dedication and the complete immersion, not in a methody way, but in just giving the show and the process their full attention, not just sort of hitting their mark, doing the shot, okay, cut, could go home, whatever. No, they're highly involved in a lot of the decisions being made. And the care and dedication that I saw was something that rubbed off on me. And I kind of had that realization that if I didn't put forth that effort, A, and then B, have the desire to put forth that effort to do the job, then I would be in the wrong place.
What a good thing to absorb. I wish more people in this industry just operated with that taking up like a significant amount of their brain space and just like general intention, because I feel like that would make sets a more positive place across the board. So that was people who influenced you. Now I want to know about your first experiences realizing how much your work impacted others. When you were like first starting out, is there any kind of like early memory of, let's say, a fan encounter, seeing your finished work, play to a packed house, you name it, that made you think to yourself, like, this isn't just entertainment. Like, I'm making stuff that really means a lot to people.
I think I fought that realization for a while. It didn't really fully sink in into my thought process in a way where I could be appreciative of it, and until maybe my early 30s. Because I think prior to that, if I had heard praise or light praise, intense praise, however it came about, I instinctively didn't want to hear it or would shut my little ear off, because I did not want to think that I had achieved anything yet. You just want to have the desire to keep exploring, going into new areas and trying out new things. And so, sorry, I'm getting a little off trail here, but yeah, I that realization came, I think, when I realized that Hocus Pocus, people started saying that I grew up with this and now I share it with my kids, or maybe the first time I grew up with you. The first time somebody said that, which I don't recall the exact moment now, but the first time somebody really said that, and I finally connected with their experience of that, it was very, very humbling, because for me to look at the people that I've admired, and I know how that feels for me, so to have made other people feel that, yeah, it's something that's so rewarding. It's kind of scary.
So many people, myself included, I grew up watching all your work over and over, watching it with my folks, and now my niece and nephew, the older two at least, are of the age where they can start watching that kind of stuff and really appreciate it. So it's just going to keep continuing. But also, you've started doing the convention circuits too, right?
Mm-hmm. I've done a few.
That's an incredible experience.
It is.
There's no better place to come face to face with the impact of your work than those.
That is the one thing that will give you that reminder, and it keeps you in check, because you realize that there with that is a sort of a responsibility, especially to the newer fans, to bring a good showing,
Yeah, it's like a special experience too for so many people out there to, come face to face with the thing that they love so much. And, like where I feel like more so than ever, so many people out there, again, myself included, like so much of us becomes defined by the stories that we consume. I mean, for me, it's particularly film and television, but when so much of you is defined by a thing like that, and then you come face to face with like the people who made the thing you love, having that connection is just so important.
It is. It's hearts and minds, and to continue to make the fans happy is another part of the job, and that's a part of the job that I really enjoy. So yeah, definitely that's always there.
I'll give you a big broad question about some earlier things now to start to lean into, I guess maybe technique, but I'll probably jump back out also and talk about the business a little. But first, of all of your first movies, is there any particular scene you remember doing that I guess you're especially proud of or kind of became like a foundational experience for you? Like something that you managed to crack and now even to this day you can think back on that scene and, I don't know, maybe even say to yourself of like, I was able to do that, I can do anything.
I don't know if I watch my own work that closely. Yeah, I mean, there's been so many great moments where I felt like kind of sort of what I was speaking to before about, like, when you just know you nailed it. But at the same time, like as an actor, you don't control the final product that's on the screen. You can do the work and hope that they use that take that you thought was the good one. Sometimes they don't, and it's not. There's other hands on this painting that is your performance. So, I just think that if I feel good going home that day, about the work that I did, that's, sort of all I could ask for.
What if it was even like a feeling on set like what you described earlier? Just like kind of knowing that whether it is the take used in the final cut or not, knowing on set in the moment, like, I got this.
Yeah, I think when I got to the point where I could be joking around off camera on set, waiting for like an especially long setup, and but by the way, this one shot that you're waiting to do is like the hardest. You have to convey some of the hardest, most deepest personal emotions that you've ever felt, and you don't have any time because it's the last shot of the day. Everybody wants to go home. They don't care about your process. So like accomplishing something like that in 2 takes, and then being able to throw it away after you do the 2 takes and you feel like you did it great, that is when you go, okay, maybe now I can say I'm pretty good at my job.
Oh, what a amazing feeling to have. As someone who
doesn't happen a lot.
As someone who does interviews and then will lose nights worth of sleep over just like flubbing one word, to be able to like just say like I did a good job and move on.
It's the best. Yeah.
It's something I'm always reaching for, clearly. I'll stick with technique a little just to kind of lean into how it's evolved over the course of your journey. Is there a particular part of your process as an actor that has stayed the same all these years, something that's just a core part of it that you always do, but then also can you tell me about a technique you've tried for the first time more recently?
Something that stays consistent is even after all this time, I still have to remind myself, this is the first time you said this. This is the first time you've had that thought, this emotion. And so, honestly, like overtly playing with the lines or kind of futzing around is something, and I still have an inclination to do that, even though I'm having worked with a number of people that really don't. They're not into that sort of thing. You kind of like, okay, that's fine. But one thing I had to try that came helpful on Chronology of Water was actually going against my own inclination and emotional reaction to the character's experience and headspace at that time. Without giving too much in the film away, there's a scene in which our father almost drowns, and our characters, Imogen Poots and my character, rush over to help him out of the water. And when you see the film, you know that for me, my thought was, we're going to make sure that he doesn't come out of the water, right? We're going to go sit on his chest or drown him all the way. but no, shifting that and ignoring that as burning as it was, and trying to tamper that down and do less, and thank gosh it was Kristen that was helping me with that process, because my inclination would have been to take it to a little bit almost near melodramatic sort of place, and she had the strength and clarity of vision to keep me on a more contained trajectory. And so that was a new one.
Oh, I'll come back to that.
Do even less. And I
vision.
already thought I was like kind of on that subtle side.
It's a tough scene to watch. It's a beautiful scene to watch with your performances together. I can't wait to highlight Imogen too. She's one of my favorites, a Ladies' Night alum.
Oh my God, I'm so
she
in love
gets
with
lots
her.
of credit for her work, but I think she needs to be recognized even more for just
I agree,
how
1000%.
spectacular she is.
Absolutely.
Something you brought up in that answer is making me want to ask this question. I love asking this question. It's another technique type question. It'll be a big one because I'm going to say, of all the actors you've ever worked with, can you name someone who you were especially in sync with? Someone who had a similar approach to the work that made you go, like, the second we met, I knew we were going to be on the same page. But then I also want an example of the opposite, someone with a different approach to the work who maybe even challenged you to adapt and try something new and for the better.
Sure. I think it's actually hard not to follow up and just say, because it is fresh and it's someone I just worked with, having that instant connection with Imogen without having had a rehearsal process or even an opportunity to go lunch and talk about these people that we were playing. That just developed so quickly and like on screen, but also to experience it and feel it, it was like a whoosh. And I think it did come from the fact that, all three of us, Kristen, Imogen, and I, all sort of started very young and made that transition. And so all three of us kind of have a way of communicating that's very nonverbal. We sort of, without knowing exactly what we're trying to say, we know exactly what you're looking for or want or where you're trying to go. And having that with Kristen in actor-director capacity definitely helped. But it was just like, so like, oh, wow, that hasn't happened in a while when I got paired up with Emmy.
I love that. Now the opposite. I need someone who challenged you on a set and maybe even inspired you to try something new.
Okay, well, so without naming any names, someone, I worked with a challenging actor who, let's just say our styles, it's not so much that they differed, they just sort of clashed. And it was made for, like, an interesting, like, I was accused of stealing a bit. I don't know how that would have even happened given the parameters of that scene that we were in, but I was like, your bit? So I think we were just speaking different languages, but there could be some, when you don't totally understand where the other person's coming from in their approach, it can get a little like, but it worked because we were playing adversaries anyway, so.
Yeah, good silver lining to have right there.
Yeah.
I don't know how good I feel about someone accusing you of stealing
their
a bit.
Yeah.
Oh, to each their own. To a degree, though, we got to draw the line somewhere.
I love how he thought he had one. That was my favorite.
I like that way of looking at it. Before I jump too far ahead, there's just a couple of transitional questions that I wanted to ask. This one in particular has been on my mind a lot because I've spoken to a lot of actors on Ladies' Night who started out so young and then went through that experience of trying to break into having more adult roles. But also, when you do that, I feel like understanding the power of your voice on that journey is such an important thing. So do you remember the first project where you noticed that, I was being heard like an adult, like my voice was being heard and in a different way than when I was a child actor first starting out?
Ghost World.
That makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah, Ghost World. It was another one where I read the script. In my camp, I was the only one who loved the script that much. And, Terry and Dan, the director and writer, they were really fixated on me for the Rebecca role. And, coming off of American Beauty and feeling as passionate about the role I did, I sort of took the attitude, well, then you're not getting me. And then I did all sorts of other things to visually convince them that I was needed. But in that process, that's when it all started. Working with them, they were great. And once they saw how I was doing my thing, it was a wonderful collaboration. Was constantly cracking up on that. And I didn't realize until after, maybe a couple films after Ghost World uh, that came to me easier than it was coming for others. And so I felt that was also another big gift, that role.
You brought up that and also American Beauty in the same breath. So I will I'll ask this question, and I love phrasing questions this way because I feel like at every single stage of someone's journey in this industry, like something happens and like you can picture what's going to happen next, but then what actually happens next is not in line with like the dream scenario that you have cooked up. So you, I believe, get a BAFTA nomination for American Beauty, a Golden Globe nomination for Ghost World. So after you have that experience of going on the awards circuit and those movies come out and people love them, what did you think was going to happen next, and how does that compare to the types of opportunities that were coming your way at that point?
Yeah, so I had expected to be reading a lot more of the same sorts of roles, not in the sense that they would be like Enid, but that they would explore a young woman's experience in that way a little bit more authentically, and instead of like what was really popular at the time, which were like sort of rompy teen coms that I didn't, and I think, to everyone's credit, I think they looked at those films and kind of scratched their heads like, well, what do we do with her next, and there just wasn't a sequel to Ghost World or anything similar like that being made. So I was sort of searching and looking, and things that I were reading were either more Janes and Enids or a whole other area of the female experience that I wasn't interested in exploring, which was more of the like Maxim cover shoot ready kind of roles. Yeah.
Is there because when did you how far after that did you take your break? Was it like?
Well, I did a number of independent films, already
like
independent
10
films.
years?
I would say after when I officially actually even said, okay, I'm taking a break, it was about maybe 7-8 years after that. Yeah.
During that 7-8 year period, can you name a role that came your way that like really filled you up, that made you say to yourself, like, yes, I still feel good about playing the long game if things like this exist out there?
I had some fun with making some experimental choices. There was a very small film shot in the UK called Dark Corners, which was a dual role. Was kind of a weird horror thing, but it was an opportunity to do a dual role. It was working with a first-time director, which with that kind of thing excited me a lot then, and it still can. And so I was more just looking to try different things and try different genres. I was really hoping for comedic roles. I was like, Enid is funny. Okay, she's dry and sardonic, and it's kind of a sarcastic, dry delivery. It's not Jim Carrey elasticity, but a lot of people tell me I'm funny. I can be funny in a conversation. No evidence of that here, obviously. But that's what I wanted to. I wanted to get more into that. It just were like. I think people were confused by that desire as well.
What's something that still remains on your acting bucket list?
Still a little bit like just a real raucous, laugh out loud comedy is on my bucket list for sure.
Manifestation table. That's what we call this.
We're making it happen.
You say it.
I'm going to get something next week. And
yep.
I know it.
And then you got to come back to Ladies Night
and we'll
after you make it and talk about
exactly.
it. So wait, going back to the part in your journey where you took a break, I love talking to actors about their experience taking a break, because I think it is a really, really scary thing to step away from this industry and a really, really important thing to put self first. So when that time came, did you know, like, yes, I'm going to take a break, I'm going to get a law degree, and it was like a no-brainer, or was there any wavering on that situation?
Well, I don't know if I knew it was a full break. I knew I was going to focus on getting this degree for sure. And I did also still produce 2 small independent films during that time while I was getting my degree. And so I wasn't like I had this call where I told everyone, hey, don't bother me for 3 years. But, everything in getting that, again, brought me right back to storytelling. I often say, like, I feel like what happened with me in getting my pre-law degree was like what must happen when people go in to get like a PR or marketing degree. They learn everything about why they don't want to do that.
You learn everything about why you don't
Don't
want to
do
you
what
don't
you-
want to do something, but it also probably teaches you loads about. Actually, I'll ask that next. After you came out, like still producing movies while you were there, but after coming out of that break period, is there anything that you realized you loved even more about the craft of acting than you recognized before?
It was, well, so after the degree, I wasn't even fully certain that I would make a big play to go back into acting. I thought, well, maybe, I'll do the writing bit. So I wrote a play, I wrote a screenplay, and then I got a manager again, and it was like the acting thing came into it, and I never stopped loving acting or never didn't want to act. But I think what really brought me back to, let's just say, storytelling was the hearts and minds of it all. I think when I took that break, I was looking for something that would make me feel like I was making an impact, I was contributing, or a lot of entertainment is not meant to educate people, but because so many of us are really raised in front of a screen, that just realization that that's how you do it. You shape hearts and minds through the stories that you tell and how you tell them.
Even if it isn't meant
and
to.
I already love all that anyway, so why would I even try to go do something that I thought I might like, and it turns out, boy, you really wouldn't. Yeah.
Even if it's not meant to educate, like I think you said hearts and minds, like movies and TV shapes your heart.
It does.
And your soul.
It does.
I feel like that's not being hyperbolic about it. It's very, very true.
A lot of people say the same thing for a reason. Yeah.
It means a lot to me. That's
Exactly.
why
It
sit in
shaped.
this seat.
Put it this way: a lot of these things shaped my hearts and minds about things.
I love that shared mentality here. Touching briefly before I get to Chronology of Water on your directorial debut, because that is a very, very big deal. Is there anything that I guess surprised you, even with all your experience, something about the filmmaking process that like you never even realized and got even more respect for by having the reins in your hands for the very first time?
Yeah, I think the political element of the job was. It's not that I didn't know it; it just I wasn't as aware. Or had the extent of it, because you just it comes to be that you're managing people, and so that kind of I was like, oh, okay, different type of creativity. I gotcha.
So that's being a leader, managing people. I also am curious about your experience, like essentially directing yourself in that, because you were in.
Oh yeah, so just don't look. Whatever you did,
no.
just watch it. Is the frame fine? There's nothing. Okay, good. Let's go.
I was going to put a positive spin on that and ask you, like, what is something that you appreciated even more about your own craft and work as an actor by having a bird's eye view of your work for the first time?
I complain a lot less now.
I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. All right.
Yeah, you definitely have one moment where you're like, well, you're not happy in your trailer?
Well, so I feel like I produced one movie after film school and like forevermore maximum respect for like the stars on the poster, but also every single person that was responsible for making that movie or that show. Everybody is putting their blood, sweat, and tears, their time, everything they have into it. And
I'm like,
it takes a lot out of you.
You learn, you become really nice to PAs.
Truly the lifeblood of a set. Let me squeeze
They're
in one
directing
more.
the thing, seriously.
One more question, though, just because of the way that I phrased that statement. I often like to highlight self-care as an actor on this show. So what is something you like to do to practice self-care? Something that ensures that when you're tackling a tough role, you can jump in, take it to an 11, but also safely come out the other side.
Yeah, well, when you're on the job, it's a little different. I think you just have to remind yourself that the day will end at some point. You'll get to go back to the hotel. It's fine. And then in life, it's the little things. It's dog walking, it's taking quiet moments out of the day to just chill and kind of zone out, maybe it's meditation. That's my form of it. But, just little things.
Yeah.
Date nights, stuff like that. Dog walking.
Dog walking speaks to me.
Yeah.
Dogs make everything better. Literally everything.
Yeah.
All right, Chronology of Water. First question I have to ask you is for big burning questions you had for Kristen after reading that screenplay. I heard you mention in another interview that like you read it and you did kind of like just get it, or maybe got it more than most people. But also I have to imagine, because of the way this is edited together, that like it can't read like a traditional screenplay, right?
No. Yeah, no. The script was a great adaptation, but it was needed in connection with the book, I think. And I think maybe my only question, because I didn't want to have too many for her, poor girl, was you stuck with it 7 years at that point.
Yeah.
7 years with this one. Okay. So wow. Yeah, let's see what we're doing, and then her energy on set was very calm, but like you had the sense that calmness was a lie. She had that sort of burning inner ferocity and energy. Like I don't know if I ever saw her sit down. She might be incapable of sitting. But I knew that she was making deliberate choices and that she had something in mind when we wrapped. If you were to ask me if I felt like I was synced up with it or knew what we had done or like how's it going to be, I would have said maybe I don't know, And then when I first saw it, I was just so like blown away, and I was like, oh my God, that's what we were doing. Oh, this is awesome. When's she gonna make another one? Let's get her on set again. Yeah, it just like it's got all the things, and we cover some topics they're so dark they're nearly taboo, but we also managed to have fun.
Well, that's such an important balance to have. I also love the way that you describe like her energy. I feel like, I don't know, anytime I see her work on screen or even see her talk about something she cares about, there's like, even if she is still, like there's something about her that's vibrating. And
she's lit from within for sure.
Oh, that's not lit from within. That's a beautiful way to describe it too. One thing I've heard her talk about a little bit is how this movie was made for a low budget. Can you give me a specific example
We shot it in Latvia. It was so low.
What about the way the set was run? Is there any specific example that kind of can reflect that, like, this movie didn't have the resources one might expect, but you were able to make the most of everything you all had?
Yeah. And honestly, I got to say, I think shooting in Latvia actually really helped with that. We had more for a little less financially. And
had you ever
Kristen
shot
had
there before?
No, I had not.
Interesting.
She had a great way of making the set sort of disappear. I remember one time they came and got me, and they're like, "Okay, we're going to set. We're walking. I'm like, "Oh, where's the set, man?" And he goes like, actually, that's your mark right there." I'm like, "Oh, okay." So just little things like that really help with putting one in the moment. And then also Latvia itself is very sort of cut off. It's hard to even find BBC International. There's just no, you don't have any of the daily noise distractions. So all of us as a cast and crew were able to stay in that energy and stay focused on the story and embracing the sort of the violence in the silence, which is such a big part of the film, I think.
Oh,
yeah.
Without a doubt. I'll highlight Kristen a little more here because like after I watched this movie, one of like the top things on my mind was like how certain I was that no other filmmaker on this planet could have made that movie the same way. There's a singularity in her vision that really is on another level. So is there anything you observed her do on set while she was directing that maybe spoke to that uniqueness, why this movie is hers and hers alone?
I think it's largely the quality. I feel like this movie is the blood rushing in her veins, and so it's that life force. But also, she just having spent all that time connected to the story She was Lydia, the writer. She was Imogen. She was Claudia. She was, Lydia, the Immy's Lydia. She was all of it. And yet she was still very much Kristen, and she's, so it's hard I don't know how she did it. And hiding how she did it is a talent on its own as well.
That
because
is so
if
true.
anyone would have figured out how she did it, it would have been me.
Were you watching with do you think you are watching with an especially keen eye because, one, you've had directing experience, and not that I want to put words in your mouth, but I am curious, you have interest in directing more?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I'm adapting an Elmore Leonard novel right now. I mean, we're working on an adaptation of it. And so, yeah, of course, I watched with burning curiosity, but I made a very deliberate choice myself to sort of do everything I could to hide that that there was a little scrutiny going on. I didn't want to put any other extra pressure on her head or something. You know what I mean? I just didn't want to bother her, really.
Well, I guess, especially.
But I wanted to know what was going on.
Yeah, especially when it's someone's first feature.
Yeah,
I mean,
and
there's
me
a lot
being
of
a fan
pressure.
of hers the way that I was for so long and am. So yeah,
I heard everyone was fans of each other on that set.
It's a
which I very much
mutual
understand.
fangirl association club. Yeah.
Speaking of someone I'm a big fan of, I'll bring back Imogen now. I will ask you about working with her as a scene partner. Can you tell me something she does in that respect that, one, you appreciated and maybe even helped you find something in your own character that you wouldn't have been able to reach without her specifically?
What I responded to her was that she was energetically taking that tip from Kristen, I think, without realizing it. She also, as she was portraying Lydia, she also had that fire from within, that burning intensity that is both welcoming but also incredibly vulnerable and guarded, and so feeling like you can access and play with that and dance on the stage with her, but also not really knowing for sure if you're on the same stage, is something that is very exciting, and it's a rare way of dancing.
Sounds like it suits their vibe as sisters really well, too.
Yeah.
Huh.
Like she's in her lane and I'm in mine, but same freeway.
You used the word play there. Did this production offer you the opportunity to play much, or is it a situation like I keep thinking about the editor who has to put all of this together?
Yeah.
Does everything have to be perfectly mapped out and done to a T, or do you have some freedom to kind of play within a scene?
Yes, but maybe more freedom in the 20-second rehearsal to get that quick map out. And then once that map is there, then just making sure that we simultaneously hit those notes and then also did our own thing. That's kind of was our approach. But no, not a lot of time, if that's what you mean. No.
Did you have any rehearsal time before production?
Not even a lunch.
So you were only getting those 20-second
Just
rehearsals and then it's go.
One day, the first scene we shot was the hospital scene together, and I had just met Imogen. So at least that day we did read that little portion from the book. And so we started the day, and Kristen's got the book in her hand. She's reading it, and I was like, oh, do we do this every day? But no, it was very specific, and she knew what she was doing. But yeah, just little moments like that. There were little curveballs, but nothing you couldn't handle.
Can you tell me a curveball you were thrown that made something even better for you than you ever realized it could be?
Yeah, I think. Some of the sets.
Oh.
Because being there physically didn't feel like it had anything to do with the movie or the story that we were telling. So that a lot of the times the sets can be kind of aiding in making you feel immersed in the environment. And I can't really say that was the case here, which is even more of a credit to Kristen, because we look like we're completely comfortable in the environment, and it just didn't feel like a set in that way. It felt like we were living in the memories that we were portraying.
Even from the viewer perspective, I feel like the sets look very lived in. I think that comes from probably production design, but also what the performances give off.
Design and the fact that these characters, they could have been anywhere. They still would have been feeling the way that they were feeling, and all of that. They were existing in an emotional space outside of the physical.
As we start to wind down here, I'll end with 2 questions. One more about Chronology of Water very specifically, and then the other will be about the movie as well, but it's our favorite ending question for Collider Ladies Night. So coming out the other side, it does sound like this was a production process that was maybe very specific to this film, but is there anything about the way this movie was made that now makes you say, like, that was especially creatively fulfilling? I hope I get that experience on more sets in the future.
Yeah, being as struck with so many different emotions after seeing it for the first time, that's not something you often get. And I think maybe having that sense of being disconnected from where Kristen was coming from helped in giving me that feeling when I first saw it as an audience member. So I hope I get more of that, of me being more surprised, more impressed than I would have thought going into it, and I already had pretty high expectations.
Beautiful experience to have. So this is the question that we end every ladies' night with. I will warn you, some people don't like answering it, but I think that's part of the reason why I feel the need to ask it often, because I think it's important. Film and television, we give each other awards. I think we should keep on doing that. That is a good thing. But I find that no one stops to tell themselves good job as much as they should. I want to know something you accomplished making the Chronology of Water that you know you'll be able to look back on and say, you know what, I am really proud of what I did there.
Yeah. I mean, well, I'm proud of the performance. I'm proud of the movie. I'm proud of Kristen. So that, and I would like for more collaborations of the same ilk. Like we were making Now and Then. I was 12, and, you had Demi Moore, the lead producer, other female, all the Todd sisters, the other female producing partners, our director, our writer. It was all just these incredibly powerful and intelligent, creative women that were kind of working on the same wavelength. And I'd like to see more of those experiences. Let's get an all-female troupe going. We're just Kristen could be our honorary president or whatever.
I'll take that.
We'll just all run around and play in the mud together as we should.
You're using the power of the manifestation
Which
table
is all going to happen. Let's light some candles.
Now. I need this. I need this. I'm going to say huge congratulations on everything you've accomplished on the Chronology of Water and everything coming your way in the future. Again, when you make that comedy, hurry up, come right back here, and we'll talk about it.
I'm right here with it. I promise you. Thank you again for having me. It was fun.
Anytime.